Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to learn how to create simple to-do application using Python Flask. In this session, we are going to learn how to connect Flask application with database. Also, we will use WTForms library to create forms in our HTML. So let's begin the session. Let me create one folder on my desktop and open in our VS Code. Let's create one virtual environment. Click on search bar, click on show and run commands, click on Python select interpreter, then create virtual environment, click. Virtual environment is created. Now let's install the necessary libraries. Click on terminal, new terminal. We will use pip install command. First we will install Flask library, then we will install Flask SQLite for database connectivity and Flask-WTF. Here all necessary libraries are installed. Now let's start writing the code. First, create one app.py file. We will write a basic Flask application which will return one text on our browser. We have imported the library. We have created an app variable. Then we have created our first route and this is our main method. Let's run this application. Go on terminal, type Python app.py, the name of your Python file. It has generated one default URL. Click here. You are able to see to-do application on our browser. We are going to use the HTML templates to render all our content. So let's create index.html file. For that we will import few libraries like render template, URL for redirect. Now let's create index.html file in templates directory. Press exclamation mark and tab to generate basic HTML structure. I am adding h1 tag. And now in app.py, instead of returning simple text, we will use render template. Now let's go on the browser, refresh the page. We are able to see the change here. Now let's connect our application with database. Let's import SQLite library here. Here the database URL path. Initialize a DB variable with SQLite. This is our table structure with column names. ID column will store the integer value which will the auto incremental and primary key. Task column will store the actual description of your task and done column will store boolean value, that is true or false, whether task is completed or not. And in main method we will create the entire database structure if it is not exist. For that we will use db.createAll. So it will create the database if it is not exist and tables. If you can notice, the instance of a database is created under instance folder. Now let's insert some data in our database. I have written insert into to-do query and we have these two records. We will fetch all records from database using and we will pass this variable to our HTML page. In our HTML page, we will loop through each to-do. I have checked whether we have a to-dos. Then this for loop iterates all to-do items and we are showing task description here. Now let's refresh the browser. We are able to see all our items. Now we are going to create a form to add task. For that one, we are going to use Flask-WTF. Let's import necessary libraries. We required Flask form. Then we are required WTForms string field and submit field and one validator. Now let's create a class for our form. We'll pass this form to our index.html page. Let's create one instance. And in form, let's create one user input form. On submit action, we are going to call index method. So let's create one URL for. To serve Flask form in our HTML page, we must have one secret key for our application. Let's add that secret key. Now we will show our each fields here from the form, that is one text box and one submit button. This is CSRF token. This is our first field and this is our submit button. So now let's refresh the browser again. We are able to see one text field and one button. Now let's write add task route. We are going to use same index method. Whenever a user will click on add task, it will come to this method. Here we will validate the form. If form is validated, then we will create a new task and will add it into a database. To check if form is validate, we will use form.validate on submit method. Then we will create a new task. We will add this new task in our database and commit the changes. And now we will redirect to the index page. Now let's refresh the browser again and see if we are able to add a task. If you can notice, our new task create Spring Boot app is added in our list. Now let's create delete task route and the button in HTML page. To delete any task, we must have the ID for that task. That's why we have this parameter. Then we have taken that task from our database. We have initiated delete method from database, commit the changes, and we have redirected to index.html page. We have to create a delete button in our HTML page. Here we will create one hyperlink tag and we'll call delete method here. Now let's refresh the browser. See, we are able to see the delete button here. Now let's click and check if we are able to delete the task. Yes, we are able to delete the task and we are able to add a task as well. So thank you all for joining this session. Please like, share, subscribe the video